Yeah. Hey yo, Edso, how are you, G? How are you? How are you, G? But welcome to the live stream. Whatever, Freddy. Whatever, Freddy live. And one day I'm going to be the best in the world. So today we're just chatting, something nice, something cool, something relaxed, because there's a lot to address when it comes to the real World Cup besides the Blue Lock World Cup. I know that the Blue Lock World Cup has serious hype, but you look at the World Cup that is oncoming, you have to choose a lot of players. This is gonna be a W stream. You say so. Let's hope, though. Let's hope. Let's hope. But since you're here already, feeling it's already good. No, no, no. Feels comfortable to have a person around. So we're going to discuss a lot of things when it comes to players that will be in the players that will be in the tournament when it comes to the World Cup. There's Jude Bellingham, there is Bukayo Saka, Marcus Rashford is making his return. So we just have to address the Jude Bellingham hype. Like, is that train over, or will Jude Bellingham continue to get more hype than he has? Because there are different kinds of players. There's Cole Palmer. Have you ever been skinned by Cole Palmer? We have Phil Foden, which is also a good player, don't wanna lie. But we've seen less and less of Phil Foden recently. But Phil Foden has been participating fully when it comes to Man City. He's a he's a star player in Man City. We don't have to question his capabilities because the boy has been there for Man City for how many seasons? For three Premier League runs. He's always been there. If Kevin De Bruyne and Rodrigo are not there to give a classic performance, you best believe that Phil Foden will give one. Phil Foden is so bad right now. Yeah, like each and everyone has their ups and downs. But when it comes to what's up, Q? What's up, Slips? When it comes to everything else, Phil Foden is going to Slips. You gave Adam you gave Adam a profile pic. Slips gave an Adam a profile pic. Slips, Slips, Slips. You're the goat. How? G? Like, yeah, I asked my friends to do him a profile pic. Sleeps. I don't know how to feel. I feel betrayed. I feel betrayed. A really good profile pic, Mike. Yeah, Adam should know. I wouldn't know a thing about that. I wouldn't know a thing about that. But besides the profile pics, when you look at the starting lineup of England, England is one of the most talented nations when it comes to football. Without a doubt, when it comes to football talent, they only are rivaled by countries like Brazil. Brazil is the only team that can take England for its run. You know, France sometimes, France has shown great talent, especially in the recent days. But when it comes to real talent, real football talent with us, no one comes close to England or Brazil, which says a lot. And comparing their number of how many times, I think they're the most winning teams when it comes to the World Cup. I think it's Brazil and England that have won the most World Cup. But after all, football started in England, so they say. So with that being said, it is quite their football or their right to be good in football. Cole Palmer is good this season. Cole Palmer is really far, dog. And you have to put in the question that do you play Jude Bellingham over Cole Palmer? It's a serious question that will be addressed this Starting World Cup, because if you are putting Jude Bellingham over Cole Palmer, where do you plan on playing Saka? Because you need Saka, you need Marcus Rashford if he gets back on form. But if Rashford becomes the best player in Barcelona, because he can do that. When it comes to firepower, Marcus Rashford is one of the best. And if he can bounce back and back, I think he will deserve the starting 11 in England without a doubt. Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, obviously Declan Rice will be there as a defensive midfielder. Declan Rice will always be there as a defensive midfielder, but the attacking part. I know that Phil Foden might be doing bad right now, but he got the player of the tournament last season. 2023, 2024. It was Phil Foden's year. And in the season for the last one, he put on the best show. Winning player of the tournament is something great. I don't wanna lie. Even Declan Rice winning the player of the season right now is something good. Cole Palmer just destroyed PSG in the FIFA World Cup final, and everyone couldn't believe it. So where do you put Jude Bellingham against those guys? I know that Jude might be good. Jude Bellingham might be the best players in England, or to ever play, or to ever come from England, because he's been a heavy hitter since going to. I'm going to it. I need to go it up. I come back. No stress, no stress, Adam. But he's been very good ever since. Like, Bellingham has been good ever since he came from PvP. PvP. Bellingham showed us great football. He was a heavy hitter when you look at it. He was a global icon. That is Jude Bellingham for you. But right now you have Cold Palmer. Have you ever been scanned by Cold Palmer? And you have Bukayo Saka, who also deserves his starting lineup or starting number in the team. Because Saka has been one of the best wingers in the Premier League. Bukayo Saka has been one of the best wingers in the Premier League. And if you think that you need Jude Bellingham for playmaking, I do understand that fact. But you do have Trent Alexander-Arnold. That man can deliver good passes. And I think if you have Arnold, Phil Foden, and Cole Palmer, those guys will give you excellent assists. You just need guys like Rashford. You just need guys like Saka who will attack the box, attack the spaces. You just need a better striker than Hurricane. You can't go with Hurricane again. I know Hurricane is one of the best strikers in Bundesliga right now, but not Hurricane again. Hurricane could have done a great thing in the last World Cup, but he didn't stand up for the show. So they will need a lot of firepower when it comes to the striking position. You can give it to Rashford, you can give it to other players, but Rashford needs to prove himself for him to get the starting position for England. But Jude Bellingham and Phil Foden, I think it shouldn't be a debate nowadays, because even if Phil Foden has bad performances these days or the last season, Phil Foden has won more than Jude Bellingham in quite a long run. And Phil Foden is in one of the most toughest leagues in them all. Like in the Premier League, each and every team is good. You have to understand that fact that getting a win in the Premier League is not an easy feat. Whenever you watch the Premier League, it's like war. So are we going in with a Premier League team, or do we take stars from other leagues? Because I do understand that there are other players playing maybe for PSG from England, but do we forget the ones that we watch each and every week? You know, because for me, Phil Foden has been the best player in the world for quite a while right now. I don't wanna lie. One season off doesn't mean that the boys doesn't have the the glory that he had before, but Phil Foden has played a very, very important role for Man City. Even Julian Alvarez was there, dog. You have to look at the players that always come in and put on a show, especially Phil Foden. Phil Foden has got more goals than I expected from him. It's the De Bruyne effect. Like if you grew up with De Bruyne in your team, and you understand that Kevin De Bruyne scored one of the most goals, like Frank Lampard, the best midfielders in the Premier League, they score goals. Paul Scholes also used to score insane goals, stuff like there were insane goals back then when it comes to the EPL from midfielders. I know that Jude Bellingham can score his goals. You cannot take the credit from the boy, but Jude Bellingham is in a very, very high competitive position right now. I don't know, like, because Bukayo Saka deserves his position, you know. And if maybe you are playing a 4-3-3 position, you need Declan Rice, you need Phil Foden, because Phil Foden will always make sure that you win. Phil Foden is that complete player that you need as a team, because Phil Foden, even if he doesn't score in a game, he will make sure that he puts in an assist. That's Phil Foden, but his game is built around scoring goals. And a goal scoring midfielder is not something you can leave on the bench. Even Cole Palmer makes sure with penalties. If you need a penalty taker, you take Cole Palmer. If you need someone who can score goals, you take Cole Palmer too, because Cole Palmer has scored more goals than anyone has expected. And that's the thing with these young midfielders from England, is that they just love scoring goals. I know that Jude Bellingham used to score goals. Jude Bellingham used to score goals, like insane goals, but nowadays he's not putting the same performance that he used to do. When Ancelotti was still around, when Kylian Mbappe was not around. But Jude Bellingham used to have his own special moments. He used to score a lot of golazos. I don't want to lie. He can still do that, but when it comes to the form right now, or like performance, all out performance, or like overall performance of players, I do think that the players from the EPL have shown greater numbers, because even though Arsenal didn't win anything, to be that competitive, it takes a lot. Even though before Man City dominated like the EPL and the World Cup, why is nobody talking in the chat? I don't know, but when the chat is silent, I can just focus on getting the things I want to talk about. The chat do be distractive sometimes. Like niggas can troll. But Jude Bellingham has scored a lot of goals in Madrid. Jude Bellingham has scored a lot of goals in Madrid. But when you look at what Cole Palmer has done in the last season, or what he has done for himself, because scoring goals is very important for any soccer player. I don't care if you're a defender. You know. Look at Sergio Ramos. He's one of the best defenders ever to play football, because he has scored goals and he has stopped equal number of goals to be exact. And when you look at players like Trent Alexander-Arnold, if you have players with that much creativity, like you don't need Jude Bellingham to be there. I know that Jude Bellingham is good at attacking spaces, but if you have players like Cole Palmer to back up the team, dog, Cole Palmer studied assists from Kevin De Bruyne. You know, Phil Foden had the same mentor too. You know, Phil Foden and Cole Palmer look up to the same person. I know that Jude Bellingham looks up to Zinedine Zidane, which is a great thing, but Kevin De Bruyne has provided the best assists in football history, and they work. Surprisingly enough, De Bruyne delivers crazy passes that work. Also, Trent and Alexander-Arnold. Trent has done a very good job when it comes to assists, and especially from his position. So imagine if you have three players that are very good at assists, not just being there to deliver the final pass, but a mind-blowing assist. Because some passes from Jude Bellingham have been like, okay, that's a good pass. But Cole Palmer and and Phil Foden, it's like they're trying to copy Kevin De Bruyne. You know, I know that for every masterclass there will be a copycat, but imitation is a very great deal when it comes to football. When you look at imitation, Ronaldinho and Neymar, each and every generation of footballers, they imitate those two players. You know, if you wanna be good in football or if you wanna be a baller, you will have to imitate football players at the end of the day. You know, and when you look up to players like Messi and Kevin De Bruyne and Frank Lampard, because let's be honest, Frank Lampard is one of the most important midfielders in the history of football. You can't be born in our generation and be like, you don't know what Frank Lampard did. That man invented goal line technology. You know, if there is a midfielder that has altered the football world, let's talk about Lampard. Frank Lampard created goal line technology because his goal wasn't, in fact, his goal attempt isn't recognized as a goal, but it was just disapproved and was like, it's not a goal because there weren't enough or technology wasn't applied that much in football. When to be sure, I think it was the 2014 World Cup. It was the 2014 World Cup whereby Frank Lampard did something insane, though. Insane, like a crossbar, and then the ball crossed the line. When the ball crosses the line, even the replays, that goal was replayed so much that everybody saw that that was a goal. But the refs, if the ref has already made a decision in football, and that 2014, if the ref made a decision, that's the decision. Frank Lampard scored a goal that wasn't a goal, but it was a goal. I don't know if you understand me, but that goal from Frank Lampard, it wasn't a goal, but it was still a goal. Because I didn't believe what I was seeing at that point. Because a crossbar, then it crosses the line, and then the ball comes out. The ball went out. It didn't go into the net, but it went out. And then that goal was replayed 10 times. That Frank Lampard goal was replayed 10 times. Like if VAR was implemented, it should have been that deep because everybody saw the replay 10 times. Everyone around the world was screaming that this is a goal, but it wasn't recognized as a goal at that time. But what it did in the long run, creating goal line technology, that's dope. I don't wanna lie. That was a very clutch moment from Frank Lampard. I'm sure that's one of his best goals to be exact. So if you have players that look up to that level of quality, dog, you have real midfielder. Like the greatest shame in England's history is that we never saw Gerald and who's this Gerald and Frank Lampard play in the same field. I know maybe some people could have seen it in the early days, but the 2000s, some of us we didn't see Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard in the same pitch. You know, that could have been insane. That lineup would have been insane. I don't wanna lie. I don't wanna lie. It would have been dope. Like having Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard in one pitch. That would be legendary because you could only dream of stuff like that, or you could dream of midfielders of that quality. That's like Xavi and Iniesta playing for the different teams and beefing. They don't like each other. That's the type of thing that was mind-boggling to me. That if you have so much talent in England, why can't you win anything in this 21st century? Because they have to do it, dog. They have to do it. And players like Jude Bellingham are not helping. I know Jude is cold, but you need players that will show up every time. Every time. And when you have players like Phil Foden has real experience these days. You don't underestimate the experience that Foden has because he has won more than anyone. And he fought for the best position in the Premier League and he won. Phil Foden is one of the best players to play in the Premier League history already, and he's 23. Being the best midfielders in the Premier League, that's a great feat. And when we put the Premier League in higher standards than the La Liga, La Liga is second to the Premier League. I don't want to lie. When it comes to me, I know that Spain has one of the best football leagues, but when it comes to the Premier League, like any game in the Premier League is a good game to watch. You know, I would watch West Ham United and not even Tottenham and Southam, or Burnley. I would watch Burnley and and some Wolves, something like that. I would watch Wolves and Burnley because they play good football. It's just good football when it comes to the EPL, and it's so physical and it's fun to watch, though. And then you have the best midfielders from that tournament. Like, what do you do as a coach right now? You know, I am really interested in what will happen because in these upcoming 6 months, let me tell you something. You know, in the upcoming 6 months, all of these guys I'm talking about, they will be fighting for the starting lineup in the World Cup. You know, when it comes to Cole Palmer, I know that Cole Palmer is crazy enough to chase after the dream. Cole Palmer wouldn't want to be a reserve or a super sub. Nah, you know, I would say that Cole Palmer will be playing for the starting position in the World Cup starting lineup. In fact, every player will be fighting for that position, especially if you are playing in world class teams. You don't have a choice but to fight for such positions. It will be very difficult for a lot of players. It will be very difficult, but if you look at what Jude Bellingham has been through, like you cannot go with Jude Bellingham against Spain. I don't know how that will work out, because Gavi and Petri have Jude Bellingham figured out fully. And Jude Bellingham lost 4 out of 3 games against Gavi and Petri. So imagine if Spain versus England happens in the World Cup, and then you have to put Jude Bellingham against Gavi and Petri. He won't survive, dog. Like Jude Bellingham won't survive against Gavi and Pedri. There is no way that boy will survive because they have been they've devoured him so many times, dog. Gavi and Pedri have outperformed Jude Bellingham so many times. I don't wanna lie, Jude Bellingham has gone crazy goals in the El Clasico. You know, crazy goals. Like I don't wanna lie, Jude Bellingham has scored insane goals in the El Clasico, but scoring goals and winning is different. You can score goals, but if you don't win at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense. So you will need players like Phil Foden and Cole Palmer. Those guys, they have delivered hat tricks. You've seen those guys score hat tricks from midfielders, like hat tricks. Phil Foden is even worse because I've seen Phil Foden score a hat trick and then assist Haaland in 2 of almost 3 of his goals. There was a time whereby I know Man United is not such a competitive team right now, but there was a time where Phil Foden and Haaland score hat tricks against Man United in one game, and Phil Foden was almost involved in all of those goals. So is Jude Bellingham hyped or overhyped? Yes, he is. I don't wanna lie. He definitely is. Like I am not looking forward to seeing Jude Bellingham play in all starting games. Like Jude Bellingham in the starting lineup would be such a waste of talent. I know Jude Bellingham is dope. I really don't want to lie, but I think Jude Bellingham would be a good super sub. If you need a super sub, you have Jude Bellingham. I think you need to put Jude Bellingham down in the bench so that he can read the game, and then if we feel like we need him, Jude Bellingham can come in as a sub. But low key, Phil Foden has Pedri is so overrated. He passes backwards and sideways, and is so weak. He was awful against Inter. These guys play one good pass over the top, and people think he's the next Iniesta. I do understand why you might have those kind of feelings, but Gavi and Petri are in no way or form like Xavi and Iniesta. I don't wanna lie. Petri is not like Iniesta, but he does imitate Iniesta at the end of the day. You know, if you cannot have Iniesta right now playing in football, you can get a player that at least imitates Iniesta. Because even though he is not the next Iniesta, but Barcelona has been performing these days. You know, not everyone in Barcelona is playing tiki taka, but Pedri and Gavi make sure that Barca makes the most passes of all times, because Iniesta also used to play passes, back passes. Every player used to backtrack, especially in Barcelona. In Barcelona, it is important to play the ball wherever there is space. You don't have to second doubt or think of anything. Passes are that important to teams such as Barcelona. But Pedri is good. Pedri is good. If you might need a copycat, like if I need a copycat when it comes to Iniesta, if I need someone who can copy Iniesta, I would take Pedri. You know, that's why I'm saying that Phil Foden and Cole Palmer are the best because they try to imitate Kevin De Bruyne as much as they can. Hey, G, how are you? These guys try to imitate Kevin De Bruyne because Kevin De Bruyne has delivered the most insane passes in football history. And Phil Foden and Cole Palmer were there to witness Kevin's greatness. Though. Bellingham is a one-season wonder. True, dog. True. Not even one season, but I would say that Jude Bellingham has had two great seasons. You know, Jude Bellingham truly gave us two good seasons, and that was dope from him. I don't wanna lie. But when you look at what the players have done, other players from the Premier League, Declan Rice has been the best player you can ever get. From West Ham to Arsenal, the boy didn't drop anything. He didn't drop the ball at all, but he kept up with the good performance. That's the type of players I think we need. Phil Foden won 3 Premier Leagues. Phil Foden. Let's hope he can bounce back with new tactics. But okay, he can bounce back. But what if Cole Palmer puts in the best performance we've ever seen in the next 6 months? You know, what if Chelsea goes harder with their momentum? Because if they have Cole Palmer to play around, if they can play around Cole Palmer, I know Enzo Fernandez can put in good performances like Enzo has done. He is a World Cup winner after all. But if Chelsea puts in a show, and then if Man City and Phil Foden fight, because Phil Foden for me, I think it's not even a question. Phil Foden needs to be there. Phil Foden needs to be there because he comes from the best foundation to ever come out of football. Cole Palmer is gold, dog. Cole Palmer has carried Chelsea a lot. Yeah, Cole Palmer stepped into roles that were hard for him, because the type of ego that Cole Palmer has, dog. Cole Palmer took penalties in front of everybody. We saw Cole Palmer fighting with his teammates for penalties, just for a penalty. He was like, "Give me the ball. I know I will score." I think you need that kind of a player, dog. That kind of a player you don't put on the bench. If the player has enough ego to believe that he's the best in the world, bye G, W for popping in. But if if you have players that have the insane ego, thank you for the subscription, G. muchly appreciated. Muchly appreciated. Don't wanna lie. I like your content. Dope. That's dope. That's dope. I like your energy too, dog. I like the fact that you didn't come to spread hate or anything. You just came with good vibes, and we're just chatting here, and we enjoy that kind of energy. I don't wanna lie. So back to the boys. Even Bukayo Saka, like Saka has put in a good performance ever since Arsenal has been there. Arsenal is, you only talk about football. No, we talk about football. It's anime most of the time. We are still trying to find the type of content that will work. We don't talk about football every day though, but most of the time it's anime and other experiences, because life is good, and we need to cover all aspects of life. But it's just a small community where we just come and chat. You can drop anything, or you can just ask us to do anything you also wanna do. But we are mostly anime based. I don't wanna lie. And our love for football, it brings us close to Blue Lock. Blue Lock is one of the most talked about anime in this channel. So we have a lot of ballers here. I will make sure to tell my friends to subscribe. Thank you, G. Thank you, G. But you look like you're a Chelsea fan or something like that. Is that number 7? Or is that Ronaldo? That seems like Ronaldo, I'm not sure. But Jude Bellingham is, you have potential. You saying I have potential doesn't make me happy, Bakayaro. Baka. Baka. But thank you, G. Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Now you're making me blush. What the fuck? This guy. Oh my god. You know, these wholesome moments need to come to an end. I don't wanna lie. These wholesome moments need to come to an end. But like the amount of goals the boys score, and the most interesting things for me about Cole Palmer and Jude Bellingham, not even Jude Bellingham, but Phil Foden and Cole Palmer, is that they are both playmakers. Phil Foden has created the most insane plays of the last season, or the season before, 2024 to 2023. That was Phil Foden in his prime, dog. You know, Imagine a 23-year-old or a 22-year-old player winning the Premier League Player of the Season. Imagine that. You know, a 20-year-old player winning the Player of the Tournament or Player of the Year in the EPL Premier League. That's an insane feat, and I think he scored about 30 goals. 30 goals and maybe 30, not even 30 assists, because that would have put him as the greatest playmaker of that year. But I am sure that the boy maybe pulled in a. What up, Adam? What up? We're back, Chad. Is back. The guy is back. But Phil Foden has scored about 30 goals in 2024-2023 season. And then, what's up, Upu Zaifa? Nothing's up, G. We're still trying to cover the Jude Bellingham chat. I'm still here with you guys with the England's paradox, because England is the greatest mystery of them all. You can't have so much talent and not win. If I was the king of England right now, if the teams or if the players of England, the internet can't do this to me. God. Oh, I'm back. But you have players like Hurricane too. Dog, Hurricane is dope, Adam. I feel Hurricane. I do feel the energy of Hurricane, but I think Hurricane can do it if he has players like Cole Palmer behind him. Do you do daily uploads? Sometimes it is daily uploads, but if I feel drained, I don't upload if I don't feel like it. But surprisingly, when I don't feel like streaming, I get the most views. It's insane. It's insane. I think it's reverse psychology from YouTube to get me doing this every day. It works. I don't wanna lie. But Hurricane is doing great in in Germany. I don't wanna lie. Hurricane is doing good, but Hurricane needs assist. Hurricane needs players who can assist him. And who studied better assist than Phil Foden? Because Phil Foden has played with Kevin De Bruyne, I don't know for how many, you know. And even Cole Palmer, recently I've seen Cole Palmer pull some insane assists. Cole Palmer did insane assists in such a way that I'm shocked too. I'm like, when did the boy get so cold? And have you ever been skinned or cold? Yes, have you ever been skinned by Cole Palmer? Hi, who's rough? Bruh, these YouTube names are insane. They are insane. But Cole Palmer is just peak talent. He is peak when it comes to anything else, dog. And the rumors have been going that that boy, I think he will be playing in Chelsea for quite a while. When it comes to Jude Bellingham, I think he needs to come back home. If Jude Bellingham really, really wants to be in that form, he needs to come back home. I think the EPL would be very good for Jude Bellingham too. But I don't lie. I don't wanna lie. The Cole Palmer is so good. Cole Palmer is good. I don't wanna lie, Adam. Cole Palmer is so good, dog. Like Cole Palmer has has surprised us all. If Cole Palmer needs to put in a pass, he will put in a pass. If he sees that he can score, that boy will put in one of the best goals you'll ever see. Because the way he devoured Nuno Mendes in the final against PSG, you know, we thought PSG was the best team in the world until they met Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer was like, I won't let you go. Cole Palmer was like, I need a trophy. The boy bullied PSG in that game so bad that it was just it was one-sided, dog. You know, I that's for real, dog. That's real talk. I was also even bored at what was happening, dog. I don't wanna lie. I was a Dembele must win the World Cup. You know, Dembele deserves to get the Ballon d'Or. I don't wanna lie. When it comes to Usman Dembele, he also put in a very good show, and his career has been great too. Even though he has had more injuries than anyone would like, but that guy is ambidextrous, doc. Block fans would understand what I mean when I say a player is ambidextrous. Like the most overrated midfielders are Petri and Gavi. Dog, Petri and Gavi can become more. They can. People can say that Petri and Gavi are overrated, but the problem is that their football works. You know, Petri and Gavi, it works, dog. I know that the boys are still immature, but you cannot compare them to Iniesta and Xavi. They are not Iniesta and Xavi, dog. Even Lamine Yamal is not even Messi. But when it comes to Gavi, especially, Gavi has a fighting spirit which Xavi didn't have, dog. Gavi, I know that Gavi is a bit reckless, dog, but Gavi will kick players, and that's nice to have as a midfielder. A midfielder that can draw in fouls. I'm telling you, dog. Like those midfielders are mostly underrated. The fighting spirit in which Gavi has, it's like he's big and he's a small player with he's a You know that people that have short people issues, like anger issues from short people, that's Gavi, dog. And Petri, you know, that boy is the best imitation of Iniesta I think that exists right now. I don't think there is anyone that can copy Iniesta as good as Petri. I don't think so. Like every player who loves football has imitated Xavi and Iniesta to such an extent, but those boys do it, dog. Especially Gavi. I think Gavi just gives you something that Xavi didn't have. As much as Petri tries to be like Xavi, but not like Xavi, but Petri tries to be like Iniesta. But Gavi is like, I'm different. I'm different, and he is different too. To be honest, I don't wanna lie. Gavi is really different. He is different. But I think when it comes to Gavi and Petri, you know, because those boys are one of the best midfielders right now. You like it or not, like Modric is greater than Gavi and Pedri. Modric is greater than Gavi and Pedri, dog. You know, because Gavi and Pedri haven't reached that level yet. I wouldn't expect the boys to be that dope. Bellingham is greater than Gavi and Pedri. No ways, dog. No ways. You know, Bellingham has been beaten by Gavi and Pedri for many, many games right now. Dog, Barcelona is playing the best football when Gavi and Pedri are around. Like the best football from Barca comes when Gavi and Pedri are around. Cruz is better than Gavi and Pedri. Yes, for now he is. But I think like when the boys get to develop more and have more experience and get to find out what works more and what doesn't work, maybe Bellingham was a little stretch. Bellingham did rise up to the role, you know, but it's just that he can't keep up with the hype that he had. Right now, in fact, let me just say at least right now. At least right now. But Bellingham was hype from BVB. You know, Borussia Dortmund Bellingham was insane. Even Madrid, before Mbappe made it to Madrid, Bellingham was playing good football. Before Mbappe made it to Madrid, but immediately when Mbappe was there, I think Jude Bellingham's football got out of control or something like that. And there are rumors that Jude Bellingham is very good at doing nothing in a football pitch. You know, he has mastered the art of doing nothing. I've seen comments like that, which are outlandish for me. I think that Jude Bellingham is one of the greatest talents. But Phil Foden, dog, oh, you know, Phil Foden is better than Barca or Madrid. Dog, Barcelona or Madrid is not even a question to choose right now. I can't choose. I don't want to lie. You know, because there are different teams I've seen in Madrid and different teams I've seen in Barca. I know the best. I don't want to lie. But I've become a football fan than a club fan. You know, I don't have a favorite club right now, but I just love football. For me, it's Madrid. Madrid is quite dope too. You know, because Madrid can form a very good team. In fact, Madrid doesn't even sign players. Players want to go to Madrid. You know, Madrid doesn't sign players. Players just want to go to Real Madrid. That's Real Madrid for you. You know, that team has so much order. Even Barcelona. Barcelona doesn't look for players to sign. Barcelona looks for players who want to come to Barcelona. That's so much order, dog. I don't know what you need to have. Even Liverpool has that much order nowadays. Players want to go to Liverpool to win. Players want to go to Bayern to win. You know, I think there are very few teams like that. Man City will be a team like that sooner or later. I think Man City will also be one of the teams to go to, especially for midfielders, because Doc Rodrigo did the most when it comes to football, Madrid. But bro, Barcelona fans were laughing at Modric crying when he got out of Madrid. Nah, that's dumb, dog. I think it's just trolls, dog. These days, you just need to understand that some people just hate, or some people just love to get likes and comments. But when we come down to it, Luka Modric like plays the best football to be ever seen. You know, in a way that he's in the standard of the best players or best midfielders to ever play in La League. Yeah, that's messed up, dog. It's truly messed up that you have to spread hate to get likes and all that. You, know. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do such things, dog. You don't. You don't. You don't. You don't. That's bad. I'm also not hating on Jude Bellingham. I wanna put that like into perspective. I am not hating on Jude Bellingham. I'm not, but this is a question of the starting lineup. Yeah. I understand that Jude Bellingham is good, but for the starting lineup, because I feel like Cole Palmer decided the final of the FIFA World, it's FIFA Club Cup, the FIFA Club Cup. Cole Palmer decided that final in the first 30 minutes. The first 30 minutes, Cole Palmer had a brace, and I was like, "What is going on?" You know, I was like, "What is going on?" And Cole Palmer was just playing the best football to ever exist. In that time, I saw the best player in the world in Cole Palmer. You know. Also, Phil Foden. It's been a lot of times I've seen the best player in the world from Phil Foden, especially the best midfielder in the world. If there is a duo that can go against Gavi and Pedri and win, put Foden and Cole Palmer there. Cole Palmer and Foden versus Gavi and Pedri. It's not even a no diff situation. Nah, you know, I really think that Cole Palmer and Phil Foden, they would outclass Gavi and Pedri in so many ways. In so many ways. Like when it comes to tiki taka, I know that Phil Foden can keep up with Gavi and Pedri. Gavi and Pedri are good when it comes to tactics because they are born and bred in Barcelona. But Phil Foden is a guy that has to understand who is this Pep Guardiola. You know, even though Barcelona is so good when it comes to tactics, but Phil Foden needs to understand Pep Guardiola and meet Guardiola's expectations. Do you understand the amount of movement that Pep Guardiola might require from you in a football match? Like Pep Guardiola might give you insane instructions or an insane role to just do dummy runs. That's one of the tactics you can play in Pep's team to open up space, to to not be in the ball for as much as you want, but play outside or play without the ball. What do they call this? Off the ball positioning. Pep Guardiola might want you to be the best when it comes to off the ball positioning. So even though Pedri and Gavi are good when it comes to tiki taka, if there's a man who has mastered that kind of talent or that kind of technique or that kind of signature, it has to be Phil Foden. And we've seen that the Premier League is developing to a tiki-taka based tournament. Pep Guardiola really evolves each and every team that he goes to. I don't know if Bayern Munich still plays tiki-taka right now, but Arsenal plays tiki-taka, and Arsenal Wenger or something like that. But the coach that is the head coach of Arsenal right now, he used to work in Pep Guardiola's staff, and you can see that he admires the work that Pep has done in football, and he wants to take that even further. Michael Arteta, I remember the name right now. Michael Arteta could have won a lot, and he didn't, but you have to remember that Man City was like that too. Man City lost a lot of times before they could win. Before you win, you need to lose. Before you dominate, you need to have so many close calls. Though. Even Liverpool went to, I don't know, it was a how long drought. Liverpool had a drought in the EPL, but no one blamed them. You know, it was frustrating for that drought to happen, but we were patient, and then they came back undefeated. Like the whole season, they almost went undefeated, or they did. I'm not sure, but that was an insane performance. It shows that you just need to wait, and then the day you have that best performance, you need to enjoy it. So even if I understand that, even if Phil Foden is not the best player right now, but if I want a player that can assist Cole Palmer, I will put Phil Foden there. If I really want a player that will back up Cole Palmer when it comes to attacking, I will put Phil Foden there. You know, and then just to take off the burden of the boys defending, I don't want them running up and down, focusing on defense. I will put in Declan Rice there just to help in with the defense. And then in the attack, I will have it's either Rashford if he's back in form for the World Cup, and then Saka. Saka is always doing the best. Saka, I don't know what's wrong with Saka, but Bukayo Saka is always performing at his best, and I don't have to. I have to put it up for the boy. Like I thought Saka could be a one season wonder. I thought Bukayo Saka would be a player like that. I really, really thought Saka was a one season wonder. When I saw that Arsenal had a talent, a young talent, I was like, nah, man, he's not that good, is he? But now I cannot argue with Saka. If you need a player that can attack or compete with Lamine Yamal, you have Bukayo Saka there. I know that Saka is not winning so much, or is not winning as much as Lamine, but Saka would do the job for me. Having Bukayo Saka there and Trent Alexander-Arnold in one side, dog, that's football at its peak. And I don't wanna lie, I would bring in Walker too. But Harry Maguire, I don't want him even in the selection of the England when it comes to the World Cup. Harry Maguire doesn't deserve to be there at all. We've seen enough, and we've enjoyed enough from Harry. We've enjoyed a lot when it comes to Harry Maguire. We have enjoyed a lot of crap from Harry Maguire as an individual. You know. But when it comes to goals, nah, bro, how have England not won the World Cup? Like, how, Adam? Like, I also have the same question. Like, how come haven't they won the World Cup? Because England has the best players you can ever wish for. Dog. Like, England is the dream team of football. Like, it's the same question that you can pose for Brazil, but Brazil, you can just say it's the coaches. The coaches have been that bad when it comes to Brazil and England. If they think that the coaches were doing a good job when it comes to Brazil and England, I think they were not. Because when it comes to those teams, you don't have to go with popularity, dog. Nah, you don't have to go with popularity in those kind of teams, and maybe England or Brazil. You just go with the best performing player at that moment. If I'm looking at the best performing Brazilian players, I don't wanna care if you're playing in England or you're playing where. It doesn't matter to me what tournament you're from, but I'm not going to take Real Madrid or a Real Madrid player and put them in a starting lineup right now. It doesn't make sense. I know that Real Madrid is a world class team, but oh my god, oh my god, it was like when I was looking at the semi-finals of the World Cup. Was it the semi? Yeah, it was the semi-finals. The semi-finals of the 2022 World Cup was so frustrating to me. I was so angry. I don't want to lie because when did England lose to France or did they? Yes, was it France or did they lose to? Okay, in the final it was France against what team in the 2022 World Cup? Argentina. It was France against Argentina. So I don't know if that was the same game, but when England were knocked out of the World Cup, I really felt like Cole Palmer and Harry Kane were too slow. Like I felt like Harry Kane and Cole Palmer were really slow. Not even Cole Palmer, but Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane. When I watched the semi-finals of the 2022 World Cup, they were so slow, dog. I was crying because how can you have a striker that's so slow and expect to win? Like, okay, if you have a slow striker like Kane, you need to have players that are fast like Saka or Rashford. The pace is needed. I understand that Harry Kane is lethal when it comes to positioning, but pacing matters, especially when it comes to football. Foden, Foden dog is so good. Foden is so good. Foden is so good. The most interesting thing is that Foden doesn't want to hog all the spotlight for himself. I think that's what's good about Phil Foden. Phil Foden is a team player, a good one, in fact. Phil Foden, when you need a goal from Foden, he will deliver you a goal, a good one, a spectacular. Like that boy's left leg is so good. That left leg of Foden's is so good, and his assist, the pass, spatial awareness from the boy. You know, the work ethic when it comes to Phil Foden has the best work ethic when it comes to football. Being a midfielder is so satisfying. It is. Midfielders are the most intense or the most exciting position you can ever watch in football. Because you can do a lot in a midfield position. And saying that you can do a lot, you need to do everything as a midfielder. As a midfielder, if you feel like there are not enough goals in a football game, you need to score a goal. That's a midfielder's role. Like if you feel like people are not scoring enough goals, put in a goal. Phil Foden is good at that. Cole Palmer is very good at that. Jude Bellingham is good at finding pockets of spaces and then goal. But it's just who do you start? Because Cole Palmer and Jude Bellingham, it's not that different. I don't want to lie, but just Cole Palmer gives you a different type of flair. The boy has speed. He is troublesome. Like defenders can't stop the boy. And then when it comes to Phil Foden, you can't find a way to stop Phil Foden. Like you can be stronger than Phil Foden. You can be 10 times stronger than Phil Foden, but I am telling you, that boy will outperform you. You can be faster than Phil Foden, but Phil Foden can score the most beautiful goals than you can ever score. So Phil Foden is going to be a greater player than than Kevin De Bruyne when it comes down to it, because Phil Foden has a better national team than Kevin. Bro, stop teasing. I'm not teasing. It's just that I've been watching, like, before doing this video, I was like, let me wait and then watch the highlights. You know, watch the highlights because why it looks like I'm teasing so much. It's because the boy has scored more goals outside of the box than he did inside the box. You know, I'm not teasing Phil Foden when it comes to that. The boy has got more goals outside of the box. And you know that as a midfielder, you will always find yourself outside the box instead of inside the box, unless you are the one bringing the attack to the box. If you can bring the ball towards the final end or to the final pitch or to the penalty area, that's fine as a midfielder. But most of the time, a midfielder is outside of the box. The question is, can you score a goal from there? I'm not talking about a one goal effect. I need someone who can recreate those kind of goals. You need to recreate a goal at the end of the day. But Jude Bellingham has come to score goals that he cannot recreate. I've never seen Jude Bellingham score the same goal 10 times. No, I've never seen such a feat, dog. You know, as a player, it's about turning one. Or let me say, as a Blue Lock fan, it's always about turning one into 10 and then turning 10 into 100. That's ego's philosophy, and that is the ego I'm living by right now as a football player. That you don't have to score one goal, dog. I want you to score 10 goals. Even better, score 20 goals in a season as a midfielder, dog. Like, we've seen Iniesta score so many goals. Even Xavi too. Xavi could score insane goals because Xavi's goals were worse. They were worse because Xavi will score when you give him the space to score. Xavi is not the type of player that will score, but if Xavi sees that there is space there in the midfield, he will take that space and then he will score a goal with you. You know? So I'm not trying to please Jude Bellingham, not even Jude, but Phil Foden. But I think the boy deserves it. The boy deserves the please. You know, he deserves the please. He does truly, truly, truly. So I really, really am looking forward to some insane feats when it comes to the 2024-2026 tournament season, because the next or the upcoming months will decide the starting players in a lot of teams. The next few months will choose the player, or we will see the players who will play in the World Cup. And the next coming months, if you're the best in the next 6 months, you are definitely going to the World Cup. So players know that fact, and players will be going hard, dog. Every player will be fighting for a starting position in the World Cup. No one wants to come off the bench. No one wants to come off the bench. And when we look at statistics and all that, there is no best midfielder than Foden in England right now. When it comes to awards and all that, those boys have won a lot of things. The boys won a lot of things. That boy worked. So I am really looking forward to what the starting lineup of England will look like going to the World Cup. Because I think Rhys James is back too. Oh my god, I'm so excited about that. I am so excited about that. The fact that Rhys James is back, for England to have Rhys James and Trent Alexander-Arnold, like the fullbacks of England are going to be a real, real problem. I don't wanna lie. I don't wanna lie. Like the fullbacks in England are going to be fine. We should make sure that Harry Maguire is not anywhere in the defense because the fullbacks, John Stones is tough too. If you can take John Stones and put him in the number 5, and then you have Rhys James, and then you have Cole Palmer. Not even Cole Palmer, but you have Rhys James and you have Trent Alexander-Arnold. Like I feel like you have 3 out of 4, which is a good defense already because Rhys James and Alexander-Arnold will give you one of the best attacks. Especially Rhys James. Rhys James is good. I don't know. I'm really happy to see the boy back from injury. I am really happy. I am really happy to see Rhys James out of injury. And I think he will give a lot of firepower to England. England has the best team right now. Right now, and they have always had. So this World Cup, I need them to show us something special. I really need them to show us something special. And I know that this season will be insane, especially for Kylian Mbappe. I don't wanna lie, guys. If there is a season for Kylian Mbappe, or if there's a year for Mbappe, it's this year. Every time there is a World Cup, Mbappe will put in a Ballon d'Or performance. So I'm really looking forward to Kylian in this year because I know for a fact that my boy will go hard. You know, we've seen Kylian Mbappe do insane things. That boy had almost gave the world a heart attack in the 2022 World Cup. That was insane. Kylian Mbappe almost became the second player in history after Pele to win two World Cups with their own goals. That was a shocking thing to me. Because if the boy did, he would have won the Ballon d'Or already. But I think he still deserved the Ballon d'Or. I really, really think that Kylian Mbappe deserves a Ballon d'Or already. Even if he didn't put in a good performance right now, but give Kylian a Ballon d'Or before you give it to anyone else. Like before Lamine Yamal gets a Ballon d'Or, Mbappe needs to get his first. I don't care if there's Rafinha, there's Dembele in that list. I don't care if Mbappe is number 10 in the Ballon d'Or rating stuff. That award needs to go to Mbappe. That award, Mbappe deserves that award. I know that the boy hasn't shown so much in terms of football, but the last World Cup, that boy showed us the best performance you can ever see in football. 5 goals in a World Cup final, like guys, I don't think people understand how insane that game was. We saw Messi score close to 4 goals, a hat trick in one game, but 4 goals. Messi and then Mbappe 5 goals. That was a very, very good performance for me. I don't wanna lie. Like in that final, if you blinked, you missed something. If you blink in the Argentina versus France World Cup, there's something that you missed because that World Cup was truly one of the best. And I know it had the biggest upsets because no one expected Hurricane to miss that penalty. You know, I won't justify the fact that Hurricane missed the second penalty. That thing to me was just draining. Yo, I see Chicken Dicken there. Who can do such a thing to me? Bando Chicken Dicken. Bando yo, ngamane ngalamba. But yeah, guys, food aside, but Kylian Mbappe has done one of the greatest things in football ever. And if you think Lamine Yamal is famous, like dog, each and every female who has someone in their family that loves football, he or she knows Mbappe at some point. You know, Kylian Mbappe has been in the greatest platform in football history twice, dog. You know, the World Cup final is viewed by 1 point something billion people, and Kylian Mbappe played there 2 times. Kylian Mbappe performed in a World Cup final 2 times. He didn't even. He wasn't just. I'm not talking about who is this player from France. There is this player from France that would come in and not touch the ball for 90 minutes and win the World Cup. Not that guy. Not the guy who played for PSG and Arsenal. No, not that guy. But Kylian Mbappe performed in the World Cup final. Like Kylian Mbappe was there. 5 goals. Was it 5 or 6? But Kylian Mbappe scored goals when we thought that France was done. Like at some point in that final, we thought that France was cooked. We were like, yeah, Messi has it in the bag. And then when the match was like 70 minutes, and then Kylian Mbappe decided to play because the whole tournament, I feel like Kylian Mbappe is not playing the best he can in that tournament. And then when I saw the boy in the final, I was like, oh my god, I was like, oh my god, because that kind of Mbappe is unstoppable. I don't wanna lie. So I really am looking forward to the best player in the world, which is Mbappe and Real Madrid. Real Madrid really needs to play around Kylian Mbappe. Like they owe Mbappe that much. Anyone who is playing in Real Madrid right now, they owe respect to Kylian Mbappe. They really owe some respect to Kylian Mbappe. I know, considering how young Kylian Mbappe is, I know it might be a very hard pill to swallow for players like Vinicius Jr. I know it might be hard for Vinny Jr. to understand staff. You know, the Real Madrid staff doesn't understand the fact that Kylian Mbappe is him. They shouldn't give him as much luxury as PSG gave him, but I think they deserve to give the boy a team. You know, if you don't want to play with Kylian Mbappe in Madrid, I think he shouldn't be given a chance to play at all. Low key, if you're not willing to play or support Kylian Mbappe in Madrid, you shouldn't come into the pitch because Kylian Mbappe has shown the football world what he can do. Even though at PSG, I know at PSG a lot of people are frustrated at Kylian Mbappe. We felt like Kylian Mbappe is destroying Messi and Neymar. In a sense, he did. You know. In a sense, the Kylian Mbappe hype destroyed Messi and Neymar's potential in PSG. But Kylian Mbappe in the World Cup, dog. Oh, I'm yet to see a player that great. To me, I don't wanna lie. To me, Kylian Mbappe is one of the greatest players to play football. I don't wanna lie because even though he doesn't have a great club, when it comes to club, his club record is not that good. Pele too. Pele used to play in South America. But what you do in a World Cup, it is important for your career as a player. And where you are ranked, though, where you are ranked, it is based on, I think, on the World Cup. You know, as much as Erling Haaland is trying to be the best striker in the world, but if his national team continues to fail him in the World Cup, Haaland might have an issue. Because Haaland is a very good striker, but his international team, Norway is not ready to put in a good performance. Norway is not ready to back up Kylian Mbappe, and that's really bad. Not even Kylian Mbappe, but Haaland. But Kylian Mbappe is quite the best. And if you doubt that fact, like look at France, dog. You know, why can France put in such a performance and then Real Madrid fails to do that with Kylian Mbappe? There must be something wrong. You know, it can't be that France like almost killed the entire footballing world because everyone wanted Messi to win the World Cup. We were like, okay, let's get this done with. Like ref end the match and give Messi the World Cup. But Kylian Mbappe was like, no. When I'm in the pitch, no one gets anything. You need to fight for it. And I was like, yo, Kylian, no, I'm too young for the stress you're giving me. I'm too young. So a lot of players will have to show us a lot. We should be expecting a lot in the next 6 months, especially from players who want to be the best in the world. I really think that Rafinha can be the best in the world too. you know, as much as I've seen the best come out from Lamine Yamal, but if Rafinha or something like that, but if Rafinha leads the charge with not Barcelona, but with Brazil, if Brazil and Rafinha get to win the World Cup, I think the boy will win the Ballon d'Or. He will win it without a doubt because Rafinha has been the best player we can ever hope of, especially when it comes to attacking players. He's not a striker, but he is one of the best players in the world without a doubt. One of best player, best. Rafinha, best every time, best. Something about Rafinha's performance that's just satisfying to see or to watch. Like a true bowler will enjoy Rafinha more than Lamine. I really feel like Lamine is Lamine is the greatest throw to ever come out of football. Yeah. And I'm enjoying the ride. Lamine Yamal is one of the greatest football throws. In a physical world like football, Lamine Yamal has come to play. At the end of the day, football is about playing, and it's about you being the most free you can be. And Lamine Yamal just represents that fact. Lamine Yamal represents greatness when it comes to one one aspect of his football. I don't know. But will Cole Palmer rise to being the best in the next 6 months? Will Phil Foden bounce back? Because I know that the 2024-2025 season wasn't good with him, but will he come back? Will Jude Bellingham put in a good performance this coming season? But I think that's it for today's stream, guys. To everyone who is watching Mnati or Freddy Live, I appreciate you, especially Ed or Adam. I'm still trying to remember your name, bro. But I really appreciate Adam for being there in every part of the stream. I appreciate Slips for showing up every day. I appreciate guys like Orati, for being there. You guys really mean a lot to this chat and to these live streams in general. So I really hope to meet you in the next stream. I don't know what kind of a stream I'll be doing next time, but I really hope to meet you in the next stream. When Blue Lock comes, but Blue Lock is coming soon, so it won't be long soon. It won't be long until I come back. I will be back soon. And I think today I will be doing One Piece cover. I really need to address One Piece because I think the official chapter is dropped from Viz Media, so maybe I'll be back today. So peace out, you guys. Thank you very much for those who popped up in the stream. Hope to meet you again. Orewa Freddy Live, and I'm going to become the best streamer in the world one day. Peace out, you guys. To being the best striker in the world, but yo ho ho ho, yo ho ho ho.